computer's being a bit slow today.
Yeah, a little. That's not surprising though. This is so we're back again, and we're ready to look at another prayer from the Bible, and this one has some backstory to it.
It does.
It's a very interesting one.
About 40 years of backstory.
No, well, 200 and something years of backstory. All right, so Numbers chapter 14, verses 13 through 24, really. Not all of that's the prayer, obviously. But that doesn't get the backstory.
Longest prayer in the Bible, it's like 5 chapters. We're only dealing with a small part here.
That's not true. Not true at all. The prayer is actually only like 2 verses long. But, okay, so a little bit of the backstory. This is from the book of Numbers, of course, the Israelites in the wilderness. They've left Egypt. They've come to the promised land. And Moses has sent spies over into the land to check it out. And it's a wonderful place. Except for the giants.
With glory and grace?
No, not.
Want to see my Savior's face?
That's heaven. This is a different promised land. This is the earthly promised land, not the heavenly promised land. So anyway, they've gone over and they've seen. It's great. Everything's wonderful, except that there are these giants that they're all scared of. So they come back and they've made the people sad, and the people are ready to just pick somebody and let's go back to Egypt. We're gonna pick a new leader. Forget about Moses and all this stuff. We're just gonna go back to Egypt. How do you think that would have worked out for them?
Group of slaves marches out of
ran away
Egypt,
after
destroys the Pharaoh's basically entire standing army,
and not to mention all the plagues that led up to them leaving,
and then they're going to possibly destroying Pharaoh himself.
Yeah, maybe
on where he was. In
we don't know if Pharaoh died or not in that.
And then they just waltz back into Egypt. Yes.
Hey, we're back. Yeah,
not going to go well at all.
And of course, that makes God angry too. Moses and Joshua and Caleb. Of course, Joshua and Caleb were 2 of the spies that had spied out the land, and they knew it was a good land. And they knew that God could take them into that land. They trusted God. Joshua and Caleb did. The other 10 did not. If you want to do something fun sometime, write down the names of those 10 other spies and challenge somebody. Just say, I'm gonna mention some people from the Bible. Can you tell me who they are? And you read their names. Even most preachers won't know their names. I can't think of one of the names right now off the top of my head. I can't think of one of the names of those other 10 guys because they were losers. They didn't have faith. They discouraged the people. They tried to get the people to disobey God. They were losers. But we all remember Joshua and Caleb because they're the heroes.
Yep.
They're the ones who trusted God and who said, we can do this. Anyway, so the people after Joshua and Caleb stand up with Moses and say, hey, don't do this. Don't rebel against God. We can go take this land. Really, we can. And the people decide we're going to try to stone them to death. Now, you would think after all that these people had seen in Egypt and in the wilderness up to this point, you have to wonder what they're thinking. That, yeah, we're gonna take God's chosen man, Moses, who's led us to this point. We're going to stone him. Do they think that's going to go over well?
Well, I mean, look at where their minds are. They're like, let's go back to Egypt.
Yeah.
We've already discussed how well that would go.
Yeah.
Well, so, to be honest, I really don't think they care.
I wonder if they are thinking. Really. You know how people get when they're so emotional that they just
lash out and do whatever.
Yeah, and they're just not. They don't think. At all about the.
But what's really interesting to me is that they have giants in front of them.
Right.
And then they have God and God's chosen leader Moses and Joshua, kind of backing him up,
Yeah.
and Caleb's there. And then they have, well, we could go back to Egypt, and we've discussed the bad things that would happen with that. And out of all of that, it's like, you can fight God,
or you
can go back and deal with the Egyptians who really aren't happy with you, or you can, go kill a few giants.
with God on your side. I mean, yeah, it seems like an obvious choice.
It really does.
But of course they choose the wrong thing. Twice. 2 times. There are 3 choices, and the first one they pick is no, and the second one they pick, no. And later...
Oh, yeah, you want to tell that part?
Later after this, when God says, okay, forget it, you can't go to the land, guess what? Then they decide, let's go to the land! And
a bunch of them wind up dying.
Yeah, that doesn't work well either. So, I mean, they make every wrong choice that they could possibly make here. But they're going to stone Moses and Joshua and Caleb. And I think about, Joshua and Caleb especially. Joshua and Caleb get to live the next 40 years of their lives surrounded by people who wanted to stone them to death.
And that's a good way to grow your faith. Rock garden.
You better have some faith in God if you're going to live next door to these people. I mean, how do you know in the middle of the night one of your neighbors isn't going to come in and slit your throat?
And see, what's really amazing about that is those people's kids who all their lives have been hearing, well, Moses and Joshua and Caleb, they're these terrible people. They're the reason that we're wandering around
40 years,
for 40 years and dying. Those kids that get to hear all of that are the ones that Joshua and Caleb are going to be leading the charge into the promised land.
Yeah.
Like, those are the kind of people that are going to be under their command in the army.
Yeah.
Like, do you really want to have those soldiers, the people that have heard those kinds of stories about you all their lives?
I know. I mean, think about the division politically in our country with leadership.
Yeah.
For the past 3 presidents at least. I mean, you had George W. Bush and then Obama and now Trump. And there's been, really nearly a 50-50 split in people that supported them and opposed them, whichever, each time. And you think about how hard, people don't want to follow him. Now imagine if it was like everybody hates you and you're supposed to be leading them. It's
like
amazing.
The opposite of George Washington.
Yeah. Yeah, George Washington was elected unanimously.
Unanimously elected. Like, nobody was against him.
And yet he still had trouble. He still had problems leading the country. Yeah. So, but this, okay, so, all right, we've got to get to the prayer here because we're running out of time. But, man, all the background. And that's the thing about the Bible. If we will read it as the history story that it is, there's some fascinating stuff there. But anyway, so they're going to stone Moses and Joshua and Caleb. God literally intervenes. His glory comes down and stops them from stoning Moses and Joshua and Caleb. And I don't know, maybe Aaron was there in that bunch too. So he literally stops them. And then he says, you know what? I am sick of this. 10 times I'm going to kill them all, Moses. I'm going to wipe them out. And I'm going to make you a greater nation than they were. And we're going to, I'm going to take care of this.
And Moses is like, yeah, let's do this.
That's what most of us would have done, isn't it?
Yeah.
We'd have been like, yes, please, kill them all. Just.
They were just about to stone me. I've had to put up with them for years. They're whining
I didn't
and complaining.
want them in the first place.
Well, why? Just, yes, please, let's get rid of them. Start with me.
Right. We'll start over. You can keep Joshua and Caleb because they're my buddies here. You know.
And maybe Aaron if you feel like it.
Yeah.
You still need the priesthood.
Yeah. And this is like the 3rd time now that God's been ready to kill them.
Well,
and this
that
time
we know of.
Well, this is the 3rd time recorded. But So what's Moses' response? No, instead of, okay, good, that's great, yeah, get rid of them, they're about to kill me, save my life and destroy them. Instead, Moses begs God not to do it. And what's interesting is why. Moses says, if you do this, the Egyptians will hear about it. And the inhabitants of this land are going to hear about it. They've heard how you're among this people. You're with this people. And if you destroy them and kill all this people, then all the nations are going to say, well, God wasn't able to bring the people into the land. That's why he killed them in the wilderness, because he wasn't great enough. He wasn't strong enough. He wasn't good enough, whatever. He wasn't able to do it. And so he begs them again. He begs God, please, let the power of the Lord be great, according to what you've spoken. The Lord is long-suffering and of great mercy. He reminds God, remember who you said you are, forgiving iniquity and transgression, but by no means clearing the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children to the third and fourth generation. But please pardon, I'm begging you, the iniquity, the sin of this people, according to your greatness and your mercy. Amazing that he's doing this. And
now I have a question here for some kind of background context. From the time of the plagues to this point, and we know that the children of Israel were complaining.
And at this point, it's only been
from the first plague. The first plague happened. I'm pretty sure it's the first one. And Pharaoh's like, "Well, y'all are going to work harder." And
they start
the Israelites are like,
away.
"Well, thanks a lot, Moses. Look at what you done for us." So, from the first plague till now, about how long has it been?
It's been about 2 years.
Okay.
It's only been about 2 years. It actually, that's the thing. We talk about them, it took 40 years to get to. It really took like 2 years from, with the plague and them traveling. And God didn't lead them straight there. He led them around the long way a little bit because he wanted to get them toughened up and ready to take the land, and they still aren't ready. But about 2 years.
So Moses has been dealing with this nation, this entire country of people, leading them for 2 years.
Yeah.
And as we've seen his prayers, we've kind of followed him a little bit off and on through that journey, through some of the toughest points. And now after 2 years, they're at their destination, and the people are actually about to kill him.
Yeah, and God says, they have seen my glory. They've seen my miracles that I did in Egypt and in the wilderness. I mean, it's not like this was, you might get at the very beginning that they might complain a little, oh, well. But then after they saw all the rest of the plagues, and then after they get to leave Egypt, and after they cross the Red Sea, and after Moses gets water to come out from a rock, and after they, and they drown, the Egyptian armies drown, and they fight battles, and then, after all of that, you still don't have any faith.
Now, put yourself in Moses' shoes here. You've led these people for 2 years. You've had to deal with them whining and complaining throughout all of the plagues, the miracles, the amazing thing that's happened, all of the quail that God sent to just surround the camp for the people to eat.
And the manna,
The manna that came every morning. You've seen all of this. You were with God because you're in Moses' shoes.
Yeah, went up there on the mountain, talked with him for 40 days.
And then you came back down and found out that they made an idol.
They made an idol
while you were up there.
Ooh.
You've been through all of this.
Yeah.
And you're at the destination. You're ready to help the people take the land and fulfill God's promises. And then the people are ready to kill you. What do you do about that?
Yeah. I mean, and well, there's nothing you can do. I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of them, and there's one of you. But God is going to step in.
God steps in, and he says, I'm going to kill him. Natural response is, yes, please, and thank you.
Yeah. Do that.
This is why later in the Bible, Moses is called the meekest man on earth. He had the power of God's ear. There were countless times where God was like, okay, I'm done. I'm going to kill him. And Moses could have sat back and done nothing.
Yeah.
But almost every single time he intervenes and says, God,
please don't.
Please don't.
It'll make you look bad.
It will make you, yes, exactly. It will ruin your reputation as God.
He's more concerned about God's reputation than his own suffering, and that's one of the things that made Moses such a great man. Mm-hmm. And we talked about this is like the third time that we read about, but God himself says, after they've seen all these miracles that I did in Egypt and the wilderness, they have tempted me now these 10 times and haven't hearkened to my voice, haven't listened to me. 10 times. So we read about 3, but God says it's been 10 times that they've done this. And he's sick of it. But he says, I have pardoned them according to your word. So he tells Moses, okay, I've forgiven them. I'm not going to kill them. But this is what he does say. Now, this is a conditional answer to Moses' prayer. He says, surely they will not see the land that I swear to their fathers, neither shall any of them that provoked me see it. But Caleb, because he had a different spirit, because he was faithful, he'll get to see it. And of course, Joshua is going to take Moses' place, so he'll get to see it. But
this is also a show of not only Moses' faith and how humble he was, but also just how much he loved God. That we've seen how upset he was after 2 years of dealing with these people.
Yeah.
And for God's sake, he is willing to wander through the desert with them for
38 more years.
38 more years, yeah.
19 times as long as he's already had to deal with them. And what we don't realize sometimes, we don't think about is, if they had gone into the promised land right here, right now, Moses would have led them in. Moses would have gone into the promised land.
Yeah.
But because of the wandering for the next 38 years, which makes a total of 40 years, because of that wandering, during that time, Moses, it's hard to live perfectly for 40 years. Moses messes up too. Mm-hmm. And Moses winds up offending God. And so Moses winds up not getting to go into the promised land. Mm-hmm. And all of it comes back to right here because they didn't go in when they could have.
Yeah.
And it cost Moses the chance to see that promised land as well. We'll see it, but to go into it, to get to live in it. He could have lived the last 40 years of his life in the promised land. Instead, he's wandering around in the wilderness with these people. And
yep.
You think about, did he ever get bitter? Because sometimes our anger can turn to bitterness. And we know on at least one occasion he does get really frustrated with them. And he, if you read through Deuteronomy, he kind of says, and because of you, this happened, and because of you, this happened, and because of you.
But see, the thing there is, he is not wrong.
No, he's not wrong.
He doesn't have to be bitter to say those things. No, he's just kind of stating the facts. Well, because of you, this happened.
He's recounting what they did. But to think about him in that. But God does. He puts the condition out. He says, I'm not going to kill them right now, but these people that have rebelled against, they are not going in. And their children wind up being the ones that get to go into the promised land. But it's an amazing sequence of events right here. And I know a lot of times we kind of shy away from a lot of the Old Testament. We don't like Exodus and Leviticus and Numbers and Deuteronomy.
They're long, they're boring.
They're long and boring. But
like this video.
This video is long, but it's not boring. It's very interesting, as this story is, because it's fascinating stuff that's happening here. And we have to realize we're the same people sometimes.
Yep.
We have seen God save us from our sins. We've seen the way He's helped us and guided us and answered our prayers along the way, time and again. And then we still...
Like, where are you? What on earth have you done for me?
Yeah, what
Why am I following you?
Why am I suffering this or that or the other thing? Well, because we need to get better and stronger and grow, and it's amazing though to me that we fall into the same traps that the Israelites do sometimes, and we need to be better. We need to be more like Joshua and Caleb.
God seems to have kind of a bad habit of picking the really hard-headed people to be His.
Well, I think part of it is that just pretty much that's all people.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, that's fair.
All of us.
Yeah.
It's kind of part of being humanity.
Yeah.
It's part of being a human being is you're hard-headed and stubborn. And Isaiah says that all we like sheep have gone astray. We've all wandered off away from where we should have gone.
Yeah.
We all think we know better than God at certain times. We all pick the wrong. He gives us, there's 3 choices, and he says, hey, this is the one I want you to do, and we pick the other 2. And, we do that kind of stuff.
Yep, we do.
And we need to be better at that. And we need to beg God to forgive us and beg Him to give us a different heart, a heart like the one that's in Caleb. He talks about that. He says, because Caleb had a different heart, and he fully followed me, fully faithful to me. And that's the example we need to follow instead of being like the rest of the children of Israel. Oh, we went way long on this.
This has been a very long one.
But it's been fun because, this story.
I hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have.
Maybe. Maybe not.
If all else fails, you can watch these videos on double speed,
That's true. And then we'll talk with little high-pitched... We'll sound like Alvin and the Chipmunks, and that'll be really fun. We'd sound much better that way.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, we hope that this has encouraged you to trust in God, to be willing to pray for even forgiveness for others and salvation for others.
No matter how much they've been annoying you.
Yeah, like we have for the past 22 minutes.
Yeah.
But you need to be annoyed sometimes. It's good for you. It's good for building your character.
Yeah, pain helps you grow.
Builds patience and long suffering.
Yeah, yeah. And endurance teaches you to not give up on good videos.
Don't give up. Yeah, don't give up. All right. Well, we'll talk to you next time, and we'll cover a topic on our next lesson. Bye.